What's up, guys? Got another video for y'all. I just wanted to talk about a few things before we hit the fall. I know fall's already, the transition is already in action. In the mornings, it's already getting cooler. Bait is starting to show up everywhere. You know the mullet run's finna happen. Everything's just like out of control right now. So I just wanted to get something to put together, maybe help y'all like determine the winter patterns. As a matter of fact, the fall pattern before the transition into winter. So right now, the reds and trout, they're gonna be schooled up right now. They're gonna start balling up, getting ready. The reds are gonna go ahead and start going to start breed, going into the deeper canals, follow behind all the bait. Trout are gonna go ahead and start working their way back towards the oyster beds. They're already pretty much done with spawn. Work their way back up to the creek mouths, river mouths, and find them muddier bottoms because they already know that they better start feeding before the winter time comes. And I got a few baits right here. I just gotta show y'all that we're gonna be covering and showing like when to throw them, just how to make them stand out so that there is going to be a lot of mullet. To keep that in mind. So there's always going to be a lot of mullet this time of year. Shrimp abundant in the marshes like crazy. So he's got to make your lure stand out more than any other lure. And it's just, than any other bait fish. And by doing that, it's actually quite simple. You got to a little bit more rattle. Sometimes you got to go a little finesse. But I'll also show y'all some locations too. But for starters, let's go ahead and go with the baits, man. Okay, so it is fall time, so shrimp are very abundant. If y'all can go back to my first video, y'all know I killed them during the fall on the freaking voodoo shrimp. They just tend to hit that crap, man. It's like they're all balled up inside the marshes, and they're just used to feeding on it this time of the year. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but there'll be birds diving in the middle of the bay, and honestly, it is shrimp. Most of the time I've seen it's been a little man-hating like that, but sometimes they're shrimp, and they're big shrimp. I've seen it with my own eyes crossing the bay not long ago. And when it comes to paddle tails, you always want to upsize, dude. Upsize them paddle tails. This is a 6-inch paddle tail by Hoagie. They're going to start slamming those bigger baits. They're not going to be chasing little minnows, little critters, just trying to like fatten up. No, they're going to hit one big meal and know that's going to take 2 or 3 days before they get their next meal, because out there, all the mullet, they're in their full potential right now. They're pretty big. I've seen some that freaking dang near 20 inches. It's insane. And when it comes to like top waters, man, top waters are gonna stand out like crazy. It's just a good bait to throw this time of the year. They're always looking up, especially in the flats. Flats are always looking up. They're ready to strike because it's only about, I don't know, a foot at the shallowest, maybe 3 at the deepest. And they're going to always, 90% of the time, be looking up and typically not feeding down unless it's super shallow tide and the reds have no choice but to forage for crabs, for oysters, or whatever the heck they, whatever, I don't know what they go for, man. They go for all kinds of crap. But lately when I've been opening them up, after I skin them, it's nothing but shrimp, man-eating, little pinfish, baby pinfish, no big ones. Mullet, not so much, which is kind of weird. And another thing to go with for topwater, man, is the freaking wake bait. Dude, this stands out like crazy. It just brings your attention and they freaking smack it, man. As y'all can tell, I had it in almost all my videos so far, and they absolutely destroy that. And as the winter gets cooler, man, you're gonna have to start slowing it down, doing like just a little finesse it a little bit. And bigger profiles are good. People know corkies. Those are a go-to for winter trout. Big winter trout. Sometimes it's just, sometimes they'll hit it, sometimes they won't. I've caught a lot of dinks on these, man. It's just, I guess it just depends on where you're at. Like every time I've used that, nothing but dinks. But I have had a lot of luck with these straight tail, just flukes, man. It kills them. As you know, I caught my PB on a fluke was it over there in Portland? I think it was a 28-inch trout. I thought it was a 30. This is one I made my own, so it's not branded or anything. But darker colors in the winter also work really well. And there's also Mirrodines and Soft Deans. This is just the H2O brand, it's the cheaper one. Those typically work pretty freaking good. And they start working shallow in the wintertime. Like reds will, you'll be surprised. You think shallow's really cold, they'll be up in the shallow. I've caught big 23, 24-inch trout freaking this deep of water right next to the reds on them freaking oyster beds. It's insane, man. Alright guys, now that we got all the baits covered, I'm basically going to show y'all spots on Google Earth and Google Maps just to get y'all an idea of like where I typically fish during this time. And there's some shallow spots, there's some deep spots, and there's reasons for them being good. Whether it's oyster beds or deep cuts where they can just continue to stay warm with the mud bottom, or oysters that provide a lot of bait fish just to congregate in that area. And sometimes it's just water movement. Water movement in general in the wintertime can actually help pushing out cold water, warm water, depending on the rain. If it's raining, it's just that shallow water in the back lakes is typically cooler than the deeper bay system, so that can make a difference, not only just affecting your fish, but affecting the bait, and just everything just mixes up together, guys. Alrighty guys, let's get to it. Alrighty guys, now that I got all my stuff pulled up, Google Earth pulled up, I'm going to go ahead and cover 3 sections for y'all. I'm going to go ahead and cover depth, oysters, and then the flats, because these are going to be the most prominent places you're going to hit during the wintertime, especially for trout or for reds. Okay, for my first spot, y'all seen videos, but they haven't been to them since, say my first couple videos, and the reason for that is because it's typically just a wintertime spot. Okay, so this is Aransas National Wildlife Refuge. It is a really good spot and typically key in the winter because these deep oyster beds have these cuts all along the side and they're absolutely full of fish. And typically these waters aren't fish too hard, man. Like you can actually wade out here during the wintertime, it's shallow enough and you can actually wade across, but it's about chest deep, just enough for you to get across with your waders. And all between this is mud bottom. You won't sink, but it's just enough to hold bait fish, hold trout, hold reds. I've caught huge reds. There's not typically a lot, but I've caught giants. And typically all the trout here are large keeper trout, 19 to 23 inches. One day I've caught them about 100 trout on topwater all in here. That's actually one of my first couple of videos. If y'all want to go check that out, y'all can just go there. And then now I'm gonna go ahead and cover oysters. Now this is typically where I fish year round, but during the winter time it's also very good spot. Okay, this is Bayside. I typically park up here, or there's the boat dock up there, but these oyster beds littered all throughout here are absolutely insanely stacked with reds. That's a weird word to use, but guys, it is insane. Like these reds just run up and down the shore. You wouldn't think that they would be up shallow, but they really are up shallow. And it comes to this creek mouth, and this is perfect. Outgoing current, incoming current. Bait fish getting pushed out and in, and not only that, they always hang around these mouths. Bait's always the key, and during the wintertime they're just abundant everywhere, so that's why I typically upsize or make them stand out. And there's also this back lake, but I never really fish it during the wintertime. It's way too shallow. Summertime, really good place. And then I also cover this over here. I've covered this before in a video, but that was typically during the summer. Now we're transitioning to fall. These oysters are typically what I target harder, more than the bait getting pushed out the bait systems. Okay, now I'm gonna go to flats. Let's go to, let's see, here we go. Aransas Pass. During the wintertime, this
I typically park right here. There's all these parking spots you can park across, but this flat, it's a vast flat. Typically the larger trout, I've caught them all along this edge. All along this edge. Reds are all within the edge. Why? I don't know. The reds just love being shallower during the wintertime. And when it gets super, super low tides, if you come out into this back area over here, it's called Brown and Root Flats. You will see the most tailing reds you will ever see in your life, and they're huge. Something about this place just creates giant, really, like, huge reds, man. It's insane. Hundreds of them. I've sight casted them. I've had a few in my videos, but that video, I guess it just didn't get too many views or anything. It was one of my first videos, and other than that, guys, that's pretty much covered everything. Those three things are the main categories, whether it's flats, it's the depth, the oysters. There's a reason behind that. It's always the bait. Like, during a freeze, I don't know if you watched the video over the freeze, but the pockets where you've seen all those reds, drum, flounder, like just everything were all in these pockets. All those spookfish. And all those dead ones when I was up shallow were actually in this back part right here. How it will affect this winter, I don't know. I think this winter is actually going to be better than the previous, not only because a lot have died, but the big ones that have survived are going to have an abundance of food, not as much competition. They're going to be absolutely at their peak and hit anything because they're not used to feeding on lures. They're used to feeding on all that bait fish, so it's so abundant lately. So they should be toads. Alright, guys, I guess we can just go ahead and end it off right there. I hope y'all guys liked the video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and you'll have a great day.